Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our Ironfish morning show. I'm Karina Conta-Georges and here to discuss youth homelessness and the heightened threat that COVID-19 poses for those in that situation is Melbourne City Mission's General Manager, Wayne Merritt. Welcome, Wayne. Hope you're well.
Thank you. Yeah, very well, thank you.
Good, that's good. So for those that may not be familiar with Melbourne City Mission, can you briefly explain who MCM are and the work that you do?
Yeah, sure thing. So a little bit of very quick history. Melbourne City Mission is Melbourne's oldest charity. It was set up about 165 years ago. We cover off 7 main program areas. So we cover off disability services, palliative care, homelessness justice, family services, early years, and we have Hester Hornbrook Academy, which is a secondary school for young people who are disengaged from mainstream school. So yeah, we're the largest provider of homeless services to young people across Victoria, and within that we run a service called Front Yard Youth Services, which last year funds from Sleep at the G went to helping us finish the build for our building in King Street, which now has 18 beds of crisis accommodation, plus an integrated service that works with young people who are experiencing homelessness or sleeping rough. And that service covers off things from finding housing and accommodation right through to having nurses on site and lawyers, doing educational support, programming, those sorts of things to ensure that young people can move forward with their lives in the best way that we can help them with.
Yeah.
The other part of what we do is we provide 5 youth refuges, which is short-term crisis accommodation for young people who are homeless. So that we have 5 of those facilities across Melbourne, and each of those is for a stay for up to 6 to 8 weeks. So young people who have been sleeping rough, kicked out of home for whatever reasons, or left home because of violence or whatever at home, come to us and we refer them through into our services where they get 6 to 8 weeks worth of accommodation plus on-site support from a staff member to help them work out what the next steps of their life are going to be. So is it back home with family and friends? Is it into some other type of accommodation? What is it that they need and what is it that we can help them with?
Yeah. So basically it's focused on stopping that cycle from continuing.
Absolutely. So we know that working with young people, we've got a really good opportunity to stop the possibility of them entering into long-term homelessness, because we've got a one chance only to work with young people and help them move forward with their life. And once they've fallen through the crack of working with us, then it's quite difficult to get them out of that kind of cyclic episode of homelessness, so that they don't end up one of the long-term homeless people that we see around.
Yeah, definitely. So, in regards to youth homelessness in Australia, what are the causes of the rise, would you say?
Yeah, so a couple of quick stats around homelessness. There's about 105,000 people experience homelessness on any given night across Australia. In Victoria, it's about 22,000+. And out of that, it's about 6,500 young people between 12 and 25. So one of the main causes of homelessness for us and for young people is family breakdown or family violence. So a lot of people think that young people just don't want to do certain things at home, or they're just bad, or they're not listening to their parents and those sorts of things. But what we find from the majority of our young people is they are fleeing from the home because of family violence or abuse. Some other stats to do with the work that we're doing is about 18% of the clients that come to our door are from the LGBTIQ community.
Yeah.
And they are presenting to us for no other reason except for who they are, and their parents or family aren't accepting of it. We have about 50+% who come with a mental health concern, so some type of undiagnosed mental health condition. And the majority, say 70% of those young people coming through, like I said, are experiencing family violence. So, really high numbers, and for no other reason than pretty much who they are.
Yeah. And I think, there's a common misconception that, the homeless are people that we see living on the streets, but that's, most of the time not the case. What stereotypes would you say surround youth homelessness?
Yeah, like I was saying before, so like you said, it's about 7% of the total population end up rough sleeping on the streets. Majority of young people end up couch surfing or staying with friends for a number of weeks, months, sometimes years. But the stereotypes, that come with young people are things like lazy, they don't want to work, they just want to go out and have fun, they're using drugs, so that's why they're homeless. Well, actually, it's the other way around. And, the way that some people deal with the emotional stuff that comes from, not being connected to your family or your friends is, you've got mental health undiagnosed. So how do you treat that? You start using alcohol or drugs to help, kind of settle yourself down a bit. And so, people see that side of it. They don't see what leads them into the space that they're actually in.
Yeah. So it is a bit of a domino effect.
Absolutely. And not all young people use drugs, and not just like everybody, not all people drink and those sorts of things. But when people think about the stereotypes, they think about the worst of the worst that they've seen or heard and seen on TV. And a lot of the time the media don't portray really positive images of people who are homeless or experiencing homelessness.
Yeah. And in regards to COVID-19, how has that had an impact on those that are homeless or at risk of being homeless?
Yeah, sure. So COVID-19 has thrown a whole heap of things our way to try and sort out, as with every organisation. But we're seen as an essential service, so we stay operating 24/7 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so we've had to really alter how we deliver our programs and services to the most vulnerable people in our community. So what that's meant is, we've got more people in hotels. So part of the direction from government was people sleeping rough or people who are experiencing homelessness, we present to homeless access points, put them all up in accommodation so that they're not on the streets, so they're at lower risk of catching COVID-19. And, so we need to protect our most vulnerable. So that's been done. But there's a lot more work to go ahead in terms of how we now house those people into long-term housing solutions. Because right now we've got, probably 900 to 1,000 people across, not just with Melbourne City Mission, but across the sector, who are in hotels across Victoria, who need long-term support to find housing. And so, there's lots of difficult things which have come our way. Staff have had to not do face-to-face assessments with their clients and had to do lots of kind of this type of thing, virtual assessments and lots of phone contacts, and ensuring that social distancing is being adhered to and hand hygiene and all those sorts of things. It's quite difficult at times when you're working with people with complex mental health and drug and alcohol and behaviours of concern. So there's multiple layers of support and training and education that needs to go in there as well for staff, but also for young people.
And there's also been a spike in unemployment as a result of the pandemic, which I'm sure is just making it that much worse.
It's some good things which have happened. There's been doubling of youth allowance and kind of payments from the government, which is great. So people who are unemployed or within this space are getting double payments, but that's going to stop soon. And so once that stops, we're going to see an influx of people needing to access our services again who aren't traditional homeless service users. And so, we're getting ready for that as well, looking at how we can have our services prepared for the increase of people coming through the doors. We know there's going to be an increase in family violence with people being in lockdown at home. We know all these sorts of things, and so we're doing all we can to provide mediation to families and support to young people and all those sorts of things where they're stuck in a home together.
Yeah, definitely. And what are the current programs that MCM are offering those experiencing youth homelessness?
So like I mentioned before, we're the largest provider of homeless services to young people. So we've got our front yard, which is a statewide access point for young people into homelessness. We've got 5 youth refuges, so that's crisis accommodation for young people. So we're the largest provider of youth refuges in Victoria. We've got 3 youth foyers, which is accommodation for up to 2 to 3 years for young people linked to education to help them get an education to move forward with their life. We have a whole range of case management and living skills and those sorts of programs which are aimed at helping. So the case management and living skills sort of work that we do is we work with a person on their goals that they want to achieve to move forward with their life. So we come up with a plan together and we look at how we can help them work through that. We've got a whole range of material aid and long-term case management and programs in schools and anything. We've got family mediation and reconciliation, so one-on-one sessions with young people and their parents to try and work through what the issues are at home so that we can keep that young person at home if it's safe to do so. We've got a whole range of case management programs where we work with the families on keeping a young person at home, and if we can't, then we find them other accommodation. We've got lots of programs for adults as well. We've got long-term case management programs for young people who have been in out-of-home care with the department and their children. So it's 4 years worth of case management for them. And the main aim of that program is to look at addressing the trauma that the young person has gone through, so that they relive that traumatic experience with their child, so that that child gets the best, start to life that we can help them get.
Yeah, that's great. It's really, really great.
About 200.
You go ahead.
We've probably got about 250 staff that work with people experiencing homelessness across our programs within my space, and they work with the person as a whole person. So it's not just about a housing response; it's about their mental health, their living skills, their connection to community, their education, their employment. So for us to do our work, we need to look at the person as a whole person and address these affecting pieces so that they can move forward and be the best that they can be.
And as you said earlier, it's not just about providing a temporary solution; it's about providing a long-term solution.
Yeah. That's the main thing. We can put a band-aid on it, we can put someone in a hotel for a night or two, but really we need to work on a long-term plan to help that person move forward with their life. Yeah,
exactly right. So, as a society, what can we do to help reduce, if not prevent, youth homelessness?
I think things that we're doing now is great. So awareness raising of the issue around homelessness, the causes of homelessness. It's great when we get the community behind supporting MCM in multiple ways. One of those ways that we have is one of our strategic directions is to ensure we can increase the crisis accommodation and housing stock for young people. There's a huge gap in the market for young people, and so as an organisation, we're trying to address that. As you would know, we have an event called Sleep at the G, and that's been going for about 7-ish years. But that event, all the funds in that event go towards building new crisis accommodation. So last year we raised $1.2 million, which went to building here in King Street, which was our latest innovation project, and that was a $10 million build to have 18 beds of crisis accommodation. Sleeping rough. And then this year our event was about raising money for our new refuge we're building in Werribee, and so we're building a new refuge down there. So the event was last night, our virtual Sleep at the G. So usually it's about, we work with the MCG and we have a massive winter sleep out where everyone comes along, gets a cardboard box and Concord at the MCG, and helps us raise money for young people experiencing homelessness. This year, because of COVID-19, everything's been thrown up in the air. So we had a bit of a, everyone sleep at home, still try and fundraise for us and that sort of thing, because the funds are really needed to get these projects over the line. And this morning, I've got the amount we raised so far is $133,000.
Oh, wow.
Which is great. But this time last year we had $1.2 million. And so...
Well, look, considering the situation, I guess, a lot of people are in at the moment, it's great that people are still contributing and making that effort and getting involved.
Yeah, we had 500, I think it was 530 something people register to, sleep in their houses and help with that. So, the support's still there, which is fantastic. And, hopefully next year we can get back at it and have an even bigger event and, raise more money and build more crisis accommodation.
Yeah, definitely. I was just going to add in, our company, Ironfish Real Estate, are actually doing something today as part of our involvement. So we've got a pajama day today. I have changed for the purpose of this interview. Not that it really differs to day to day during the pandemic, as we're normally in our PJs. But so we're doing that in addition to fundraising, which is great. And for those that want to go the extra mile, we're encouraging sleeping on the couch for a night or sleeping in the backyard. Something really simple to show support.
Yeah, it's also, like I said before, the awareness raising piece is a really important part of what we do. And to make change and to get the community understanding that, it's not the individual's fault for the experiencing or where they are in their life. There's actually, past traumas and past experiences and, other people who haven't dealt with things which roll on to kind of affect each and every one that we work with.
Yeah. And I think, as you said, it's just important to, continue to educate and raise awareness about this issue and start that conversation.
Yeah. No, it's a big thing. People can just talk about it, and one person talks to another person, they talk to somebody else.
Exactly right.
We're all rolling on. We're all doing our piece to raise awareness around this. Massive. It's
a collective effort.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time, Wayne, and for all that you and MCM do for those experiencing disadvantage. You are making such a difference, and I'm sure they appreciate it. To all you viewers, tune in next time as we discuss how the easing of restrictions has impacted leasing. In the meantime, please stay safe and look after yourselves. Thank you again, Wayne.
And I'd like to thank your organisation as well for all your support and for your guys, pajama day, sleeping out, those sorts of things. It all helps. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. It's our pleasure. All right, have a good day.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.